And welcome back to another KTaNE module tutorial. This one is on not the Curious Light, the final one in the Light series, at least that I'm recording. This module is differentiated from the regular Curious Light due to it flashing... They both flash 3 colors, but the Curious Light is going to flash red, green, blue, and white, but not the Curious Light is going to use cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. In this case, if we click on the module, we'll get a sequence of 3 colors. So in this case, we got black, black, cyan. And now, there are 4 sequences total on the module, and each consecutive press after the first one displays the next wire. So the first press gives black, black, cyan, that's the first wire. Next is yellow, black, magenta, that's the second wire. Then magenta, cyan, magenta, that's the third. And then yellow, cyan, yellow, that's the fourth. And if you press after the fourth, it'll display the first again, black, black, cyan. So each of these numbers, or in each of these sequences, is a separate quote-unquote wire, is what the module wants you to call them. Each of these wires you need to determine if you cut or don't cut based on a set of attributes that each of the wires have. So first we need to determine which attributes from this table, there are 6 total, we're going to be using 3. Which 3 we're going to be using. So let's start, you just go through this table left to right to get your 3 conditions. So if the last digit of the serial number is even, it is. So the first condition is sea level. So the first of these 4 colors in each of these sequences is going to correspond to sea level, this one. So let's go ahead and write that down. So now we know the sea level of wire 1 is plus 20 centimeters. We know of 2, 1 is plus 20 centimeters because the first color is black. For the second, the first color is yellow, so we have minus 40 centimeters. For magenta, we have minus 20 centimeters, and for yellow, another minus 40. So we have the first one already defined. If the bomb, okay, so now we go to the second part of the table, since we've already gotten something from the first part. If the bomb has a stereo RCA, RJ, or PS2, we have an RJ right here. So the first unused condition is a zodiac sign. What it means by the first unused is the first color in your sequence of 3 colors that hasn't been defined an attribute yet. So say the first condition applied to the second, so this zodiac sign, since it's the first unused, would apply to the first. But since we're at the first, the first unused left to right is the second. So the second is going to be zodiac sign. So let's calculate that. Well, let's get the zodiac signs rather. So black for sequence 1, since black is the second color, is cat. Black for this one is also cat. And then cyan for number 3 is fish. And then cyan for number 4 is also fish. And now you use the third box of the table for the third one. The final unused condition is light color. So whatever color is left that you haven't assigned yet is light color. And light color just corresponds to the color of the third light. I know, shocking. So cyan, magenta, magenta, and yellow. And you actually want to break up these light colors into their RGB components because those are going to be used later. So cyan is blue plus green. Magenta is red plus blue. So another red plus blue. And a red plus green. And now that we have the conditions for all 3 wires, or all 4 wires rather, we can determine which wires we need to cut. So if any of these 4 rules are true, and the unless is not true, then we can cut the wire. So first, cut the wire if 2 values are exactly 20, positive. This corresponds to sea level and baking time. You need exactly a baking time of 20 minutes and a sea level of plus 20 centimeters to have that rule be true. So it is almost never true. I'm just going to highlight this for consistency. So this rule applies to nothing, so we move on. Cut the wire if it's a member of the Chinese zodiac or was overcooked, unless it was dry or edible anyways. Now, inedible corresponds to sawdust percent, which you can see down here. Inedible is 20 or 50% sawdust. So we don't have to worry about that, because if it references one of these three that we don't have, then we just ignore it, because like we don't have any of those three, so it cannot be dry. Or sorry, it cannot be inedible. For it to be dry, the tide has to be either negative 20 centimeters or negative 40 centimeters, which means this one is out of the question, and this one is out of the question, and this one's out of the question too. All three of them are dry, and because dry is in the unless section, that means this rule is already false, no matter if this part is true. So for the final wire we haven't looked at, if it's a member of the Chinese zodiac or was overcooked. Overcooked corresponds to the baking time. Chinese zodiac would be our zodiac sign. The Chinese zodiacs are, according to the manual, rabbit, goat, and rooster. This is a cat, which is not, in fact, a Chinese zodiac sign. So this rule applies to none of the wires, which means we're not going to be cutting any of them based on this rule. Third rule. Cut the wire if the tide is high. That means plus 20 or plus 40, unless the light color contains red. So since these three are not high, we disregard them. And the first rule, the tide is high, and the color does not contain red, so we will be cutting this wire, because the unless condition is not true, and the tide rule is true. And finally, cut the wire if the light color contains blue. So that would correspond to this and this. Unless the zodiac sign is aquatic or it's a new moon. New moon corresponds to lunar phase, which we don't have. And aquatic would be fish or goat, as according to the manual. Capricorn is the aquatic goat, and Pisces is the aquatic fish. So fish or goat are considered aquatic. Since fish is aquatic, 3 is out of the question, but 2 is not out of the question. Its light color contains blue, and the unless doesn't apply, so it's cutting as well. So now, how do we actually cut these wires after we've determined which ones to cut? So you see me cycling through these because in order to cut a wire, you must hold the light over a tick after that wire's colors are shown. So in this case, let's show wire 1. So wire 1 was the most previously shown, so if we hold the module, we will cut wire 1. So, bam. After you cut a wire, whether it's correct or incorrect, that wire will be removed from the sequence. As you can see, I'll go to the 3rd, the 4th, and that's back to the 2nd, because the 1st no longer exists. So now we cut the 2nd wire, because we need to cut the 2nd wire as well. So let's just make sure we're on the right one. Yellow, cyan, yellow, and then yellow, black, magenta. So we are now on the 2nd wire, and we can cut it to solve the module. Once you cut all cuttable wires, the module will solve regardless of the states of the other wires. So let's do another one. Okay, so let's get our wires. We have black, magenta, magenta, cyan, yellow, cyan, yellow, magenta, cyan, and yellow, cyan, yellow. So let's see what we have applying. If the last digit of the serial number is even, or if the bomb is more lit than unlit, both are true, so we definitely use sea level first. If the bomb is an RCA, RJ, or PS2 port, no, it only is a serial port. So the second unused condition is baking time. Since we've already used the first, the second unused is actually going to be the third, so the third is baking time. And then the final unused condition is light color, so the second is light color. So let's apply these to our wires. So For the first color, we have sea level, so black goes to plus 20, cyan goes to plus 40, yellow goes to minus 40, and yellow also goes to minus 40. Then we have light colors, so the middle color is magenta, yellow, magenta, and cyan. And the baking time corresponds to the last color. Magenta is 20 minutes, cyan is 10 minutes, cyan is 10 minutes again, and yellow is 40 minutes. So now we go through our rules. So if any two values are exactly 20 positive, we actually do have that case, because we have plus 20 here and 20 minutes here, which are both exactly 20 positive. So we will cut this wire based on rule 1. The second rule. Cut the wire if it's a member of the Chinese zodiac or was overcooked. Overcooked corresponds to baking time. It is either 40 or 60 minutes. So this one is overcooked, but it's also dry, so we actually don't cut this. And we don't have zodiac signs, so the other part of that rule just doesn't apply. Cut the wire if the tide is high. We do actually have the tide being high on this one, unless the light color contains red. Yellow is red plus green, so that does contain red, and thus this rule affects nothing, because the other two don't have the tide being high, they have it being low. And finally, if the light color contains blue, so that'd be this one and this one, unless the zodiac sign is aquatic, nope. And unless it's a new moon, neither apply, so both of these can be cut. So everything but the second wire is getting cut this time. So we'll play the first one. Now we're selected the first wire. Cut it. Don't cut the second wire, cycle to the third. Cut the third. And yellow, cyan, yellow, cut the fourth. And the module is solved. That's not the Curious Light. I actually have a reworded manual that can explain this in better detail coming out soon. But until then, thank you for watching this tutorial on it. See ya!